I'll never forget the look in Harold's eyes the day he sat across from me in my office. He was 69, retired from a long career in carpentry, and still had the strong, weathered hands of a man who built things for a living. But that day, he looked smaller somehow, quieter, like a piece of him had gone missing. "Doc," he said, barely above a whisper, "I still want it. The desire's there. But my body, it's just not keeping up." He wasn't alone. In my 30-plus years as a physician, I've seen thousands of men like Harold, strong men, proud men, suddenly unsure of themselves in the most intimate moments, and more often than not, they blame their age. But here's the truth I share with them. It's not your age, it's your blood flow. And the good news, you can fix it with something as simple as a handful of walnuts. Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Hyman, MD. I've spent my career helping people reclaim their health using the power of real food, science-backed nutrition, and lifestyle change. As a practicing physician, New York Times best-selling author, and host of the Doctor's Pharmacy, I've guided tens of thousands of patients back to health not through pills, but through understanding how their bodies work. And today, I want to share something deeply personal and surprisingly powerful, something I've used with my own patients again and again. Walnuts? Now that might sound odd. After all, they're just nuts, right? Wrong. Walnuts are nature's secret weapon for male vitality, especially for men over 60. Because they directly target the root cause of poor erections, poor circulation. You see, an erection is basically a blood pressure event. If blood isn't flowing properly, nothing else matters. But walnuts contain an amino acid called L-arginine, which your body converts into nitric oxide, the very chemical that signals your blood vessels to relax and open up. That means more blood flows exactly where you want it, when you need it most. One of my patients, Harold, started eating just a small handful of walnuts each morning. 3 weeks later, he came back, smiling ear to ear. "Doc, I woke up hard. Just like the old days. I didn't even expect it. That wasn't a miracle. That was biology finally working the way it's supposed to." And this is just the beginning. Because once blood starts flowing again, everything else starts to change. The truth is, better blood flow is only the first chapter in this story. What fuels the desire behind those erections? What keeps a man feeling like a man is testosterone. And let me be straight with you. After 60, most men's testosterone levels don't just dip, they crash. I remember my patient, Joe. He was 73, a former firefighter with stories that could fill books. But when he came to see me, the fire inside him had gone dim. "Doc," he said, "I'm not depressed, but I'm just flat, no spark. I don't get mad. I don't get excited. I just exist." That kind of emotional numbness, the lack of motivation, energy, even joy, is something I hear all the time. And it's not always depression. Often, it's low testosterone. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Your body still can make testosterone, but like an old engine, it needs the right oil, and that's where walnuts come in. Walnuts are loaded with zinc and magnesium, two essential minerals for hormone production. Zinc, in particular, is critical for the Leydig cells in your testicles. They're the ones responsible for testosterone. Without enough zinc, those cells go quiet. But with enough, they roar back to life. Joe didn't want injections or patches. So we started small. A better sleep routine, a 20-minute walk each day, and yes, a serving of walnuts in the morning. 6 weeks later, he called me up. His voice already sounded different, stronger, more alive. "Doc," he said, "I don't know what happened. I feel like I'm back, like I've woken up." That's the thing about testosterone. It doesn't just improve your sex drive. It restores your identity, your sense of power, your resilience, your joy. It brings color back to a man's world. And the best part, walnuts don't override your system like synthetic hormones. They support it gently, naturally, consistently. No side effects. Just the building blocks your body's been missing. It's not about chasing youth. It's about reclaiming the man. You still are the man who's always been there, just waiting to be reawakened. And now that your hormones are rising, let's talk about the silent villain that can still hold you back. Inflammation. Let's talk about inflammation. The invisible enemy most men never see coming. I had a patient named Frank, 66 years old, built like a truck, but when he sat down in my office, he looked tired, not physically, but emotionally drained. "Doc," he said, "I'm doing everything right. Eating clean, exercising, but I just don't feel anything down there anymore." His labs looked okay. Testosterone was within range. Blood pressure wasn't great, but manageable. Yet the spark was gone. What Frank didn't know, and what most men don't, is that chronic inflammation, especially in the penis and prostate, can block sensation, blood flow, and desire. The penis has some of the smallest arteries in the body. It doesn't take much swelling to squeeze them shut. The prostate, too, when inflamed, presses against nerves and blood vessels, making arousal harder, erections weaker, and pleasure duller. Here's where walnuts come in. They're rich in polyphenols, powerful plant compounds that fight oxidative stress, a major cause of inflammation. One standout is ellagic acid, found in raw walnuts, which has been shown to protect blood vessels and reduce inflammation at the cellular level. Walnuts also contain alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 that cools inflammation throughout the pelvic region, exactly where you need it most. I worked with Frank for 6 weeks. We added walnuts to his lunch, cut back processed carbs, and introduced a light yoga routine to help with circulation. At week 7, he walked in with a look I'll never forget. He sat down, leaned in, and said, "Doc, I can feel things again. Not just physically, I feel like me." And that's the beauty of healing from inflammation. It's not loud. It doesn't announce itself, but it rebuilds you quietly day by day until one morning you wake up and something's different. The tightness is gone. The sensation returns. You feel connected, alive. You don't need another prescription. You need to calm the internal fire. And when that fire dies down, everything else, blood flow, sensitivity, confidence begins to rise. But here's the thing. What good is blood flow and nerve health if you can't actually feel what's happening? Let's talk about restoring sensitivity, because that's where the magic truly begins. It's not just about getting hard. It's about what you feel when you do. I'll never forget Jack, a retired firefighter from Milwaukee. Strong handshake, tough voice. But when we got to the real conversation, he dropped his eyes and said, "Dr. Hyman, I can still get an erection sometimes, but it's numb. It doesn't feel like it used to." He wasn't alone. In fact, This is one of the most quietly devastating things older men experience. They're not just chasing performance, they're chasing connection. That spark, that intensity, that feeling that made intimacy something to look forward to, not just go through the motions. So what happened? Years of reduced blood flow, chronic inflammation, and poor nutrition that left the nerve endings in the pelvic region undernourished, sluggish, desensitized. The result: erections may come, but they feel dull. Here's the hopeful part: nerves can heal. And one of the most surprising allies in that healing process: walnuts. These little powerhouses are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, especially alpha-linolenic acid. That's critical, because omega-3s help repair the myelin sheath, the protective layer around your nerve fibers. Think of it like electrical wiring. When the coating is strong, signals travel clearly and quickly. When it's damaged, everything slows down or goes quiet. Walnuts also bring vitamin E to the table, a potent antioxidant that protects nerves from damage and helps regenerate function over time. I remember when Jack came back after 8 weeks of eating a handful of walnuts every morning with his oatmeal. He looked at me with the kind of grin you don't fake. "Doc," he said, "I didn't know what I was missing until it came back." It wasn't just sensation. It was a reconnection with himself, with his partner, and with a part of life that felt lost. That's the power of nourishing your nerves. And it's not just pleasure, it's confidence. It's the ability to be present, to feel every moment, instead of watching it slip by. But we're not done yet, because even with healthy nerves, there's another hidden thief quietly sabotaging your progress: unstable blood sugar. Let's talk about how this one nut protects your hormones and your manhood by keeping sugar in check. Charles was 64 when he first stepped into my office, retired just a few months earlier. But he didn't look like a man enjoying his golden years. He slumped into the chair and said, "Doc, I just feel off. No energy, no motivation. And the intimacy stuff, it's slipping, and I have no clue why." After some labs and a long talk, it was clear Charles was dealing with creeping blood sugar instability. Not full-blown diabetes yet, but heading in that direction. And trust me, even before it gets that far, high blood sugar can quietly dismantle a man's hormonal balance, energy, and yes, his erections. See, here's what most men don't realize. High blood sugar inflames your blood vessels, especially the tiny ones that matter most during intimacy. It messes with your testosterone production, crashing the very hormone that powers male drive and function. And it drains your energy by burning out your body's ability to process fuel efficiently. But there's good news: your body is constantly trying to balance itself if you give it the right support. That's where walnuts come in. This nut is packed with two things your blood sugar loves: healthy fats, dietary fiber. Together, they help slow down the absorption of glucose after meals, keeping your sugar levels from spiking and crashing. That means more stable energy, better hormone regulation, and far less inflammation across the board. What's more, walnuts have been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, which is just a fancy way of saying your body doesn't have to work as hard to keep blood sugar in check. That reduces the stress on your system and allows your testosterone to thrive. Charles didn't need a massive diet overhaul. He just started replacing the sugary muffins and processed snacks with a handful of raw walnuts in the morning and again after lunch. 6 weeks later, he said something that stuck with me. "I feel like I got control back. Doc, not just over my sugar, over myself. And when a man feels in control of his energy, his hormones, and his performance, everything starts falling into place. But even with better blood sugar and hormones, one major roadblock can remain the one most men are too embarrassed to talk about. Let's go deeper into something that affects not just the body, but the mind. I remember meeting Thomas, a 69-year-old former firefighter. Physically, he was still in decent shape. His blood pressure was fine, hormones were okay, but every time he got close to intimacy with his wife, something shut down. It's not my body. Doc, he whispered, it's my mind. I freeze up. What Thomas was struggling with is far more common than most men admit: performance anxiety. And here's the thing, even if your blood is flowing and your testosterone is climbing, your brain can still get in the way. The fear of failing, of disappointing your partner, of not being the man you used to be. That fear can override everything. This is why I always say you can't heal the body without healing the mind. And guess what? Walnuts, yes. The same humble nuts support brain health and emotional balance in powerful ways. They contain omega-3 fatty acids. These fats reduce inflammation in the brain and help improve mood stability. Magnesium, known to reduce stress and anxiety. Vitamin B6, crucial for producing serotonin and dopamine, the brain's natural feel-good chemicals. I started Thomas on a simple morning routine: a small handful of walnuts, 10 minutes of deep breathing, and a short walk. No pressure, no big promises. A month later, he came back with a quiet smile. I didn't panic this time. I stayed in the moment, and for the first time in years, I actually felt connected again. And that, to me, is everything. You see, when your mind feels safe, your body follows. You stop overthinking. You stop hesitating. You begin to trust yourself again. That's what healing really means. It's not just about fixing parts. It's about restoring the connection between body, mind, and confidence. So if you've ever felt that fear, that hesitation, know this: you're not broken. You're human. And with the right fuel and habits, that heavy cloud over your intimacy can lift, but confidence alone won't get you all the way there. You also need the energy and stamina to follow through. Let's talk about how to boost that next. One of the most common things older men tell me in my clinic is this: Doc, I still want it. I just don't have the energy anymore. Not just for intimacy, but for life. Waking up early, walking the dog, spending time with their partner. It all starts to feel like too much. That's exactly what Marvin, 72, said when he came in. He looked tired, not just in his eyes, but in his bones. I don't feel like me anymore, he said. And I understood, because here's the truth: energy and stamina aren't just about age. They're about how your cells are being fueled. See, your body has something called mitochondria, tiny power plants inside your cells. They create the energy you need to move, think, love, and connect. But as we age, especially after 60, those mitochondria can get sluggish. They burn out. They need support. And believe it or not, walnuts are like high-octane fuel for these microscopic engines. They're loaded with vitamin B complex, essential for converting food into usable energy, copper and manganese, trace minerals that support mitochondrial activity, healthy fats, long-lasting fuel that doesn't spike and crash like sugar or caffeine. I told Marvin to start small, just a handful of walnuts each morning with breakfast. We also added a short walk and more hydration. In 5 weeks, he came back grinning. "Doc, I've got more gas in the tank. I'm not running out halfway anymore." That's the magic of real energy. It's not a jolt or a crash. It's a quiet, steady burn that powers your whole day and your most intimate moments. When you've got stamina, you don't hold back. You take initiative. You laugh. You lean in. You become the version of yourself you thought had faded. And remember, it's not just about what you do while you're awake. Energy starts while you're asleep. That's when your body rebuilds. Next, I'll show you how one overlooked benefit of walnuts helps you sleep deeper, and why that's the secret to healing erections overnight. Sleep. It's the silent pillar of health that too many men overlook. When Howard, 68, came to see me, he wasn't sleeping more than 4 hours a night, tossing, turning, waking up feeling like he hadn't rested at all. "Doc," he sighed. "I used to wake up with morning wood like clockwork. Now I just wake up, tired." What Howard didn't know, and what many older men don't realize, is that those morning erections are more than just a curiosity. They're a signal, a sign that your body is healing, restoring, and balancing hormones like testosterone during the night. You see, your body does its deepest repair work during REM sleep. That's when your testosterone resets. That's when your nervous system rewires. That's when the inflammation in your blood vessels has a chance to calm. But if your sleep is shallow or interrupted, none of that happens. Here's where walnuts play a surprising role again. They contain tryptophan, an amino acid that helps produce serotonin, which in turn converts into melatonin, the hormone that regulates your sleep-wake cycle. Unlike sleeping pills, walnuts don't knock you out. Instead, they support your natural rhythm. They guide your body back into balance. We made just a few changes to Howard's nightly routine. No screens. 1 hour before bed. A light walk after dinner. A handful of walnuts, about 30 minutes before bed. Within 2 weeks, he reported waking up clearer, more rested. And then it happened. He looked at me, smiling sheepishly, and said, "Doc, the morning stirrings are back." That moment said everything. Better sleep means better healing. Better healing means better performance. And performance starts in your dreams. So if you've been waking up drained, mentally foggy, emotionally flat, physically off, don't ignore it. Your body is trying to tell you something, and sometimes the answer is as simple as nourishing it with what it's been missing. Next, let's talk about the real troublemaker hiding in plain sight for so many men over 60, a swollen prostate. And once again, walnuts might be your secret weapon. When Robert walked into my clinic, the look on his face said it all. He was frustrated, tired, embarrassed. "Doc," he said quietly, "I've lost the rhythm of my body. I wake up 3, sometimes 4 times a night to pee. And intimacy, it's just uncomfortable now." Robert's story is more common than most men think, especially after 60. And the culprit, prostate enlargement. You see, as men age, the prostate tends to grow. It's called benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH. It's not cancer, but it can seriously mess with your quality of life, from constant bathroom trips to interrupted sleep, to weaker streams, and, yes, trouble in the bedroom. but the real damage happens silently. As the prostate swells, it puts pressure on your urethra and the nerves around your pelvic region. That pressure disrupts blood flow, mutes sensation, and makes arousal uncomfortable, sometimes even painful. And for many men, it becomes a cycle of avoidance, avoiding intimacy, avoiding connection, avoiding life. Now here's the good news. Walnuts contain a special form of vitamin E called gamma tocopherol, which has been shown in studies to calm low-grade inflammation, specifically in the prostate gland. It's not just about general health, it targets the problem area. They also deliver plant sterols, which help regulate local hormone levels and can reduce BPH symptoms, improving urinary flow without the side effects of certain medications. I suggested Robert add a small serving of walnuts into his daily routine. That's it. No drastic diet changes. No medications. A few months later, he came back, a quiet confidence in his voice. I'm not waking up every hour anymore, he said. And I'm feeling things again, good things. When you reduce that internal pressure, not just physically, but emotionally, the results are profound. You reclaim your nights, your energy, your connection. And as I tell every man who sits across from me, your prostate doesn't have to be your prison. It can be part of your comeback. Coming up, let's talk about the final and maybe most important transformation walnuts can offer, restoring the one thing many men think they've lost for good, their confidence. I've sat across from hundreds of men who believed they were broken. They'd tried the pills, the diets, the silence, and still they whispered, "Doc, I'm just not the man I used to be." And I always lean in and say the same thing. Let's talk about your confidence. Because confidence is more than just a feeling. It's a vital sign. A man's ability to trust his own body, to believe he's still capable of intimacy, of strength, of showing up in the ways that matter. And nothing erodes that trust faster than inconsistency. One night, you perform well. The next, nothing. One day, you feel energized. The next, exhausted. That roller coaster wears you down until you stop trying, not because you've lost desire, but because you've lost faith in your body. But here's where something as humble as a walnut can help turn the tide. When men start seeing small, consistent improvements, better sleep, stronger erections, less pressure from their prostate, something clicks. And what clicks isn't just biology. It's belief. It's that inner spark that says, "I'm not done yet." One of my patients, Alan, 66, had battled low self-esteem for years. After a rough divorce and years of chronic fatigue, he'd all but given up on dating. But after just 6 weeks of adding walnuts into his diet, along with walks and some light resistance training, things began to change. I didn't just feel better. He told me, I felt me again. He didn't just regain blood flow. He regained permission to show up again in the world confident, connected, capable. Confidence isn't about having six-pack abs or perfect performance. It's about knowing you're enough, that you have the right to desire, to enjoy, to love. And when you nourish your body with real food, with movement, with intention, it responds. That response rebuilds trust. Trust becomes courage, and courage becomes intimacy. So if you're watching this and wondering if it's too late, let me say this clearly. It's not, you're not. A handful of walnuts a day might not seem like much, but sometimes the smallest habits unlock the biggest transformations. And confidence, that's the biggest win of all. In the final part, I'll share how to use walnuts correctly and a surprising combo that triples their benefits. You won't want to miss it. I want to end this journey not with hype, but with something real, a simple way forward. Because now that you've heard how powerful walnuts can be for men over 60 for blood flow, hormone support, prostate health, sleep, energy, and confidence, it's time to talk about how to actually use them the right way. And trust me, this part matters. Too often, men try something healthy, but make one small mistake that cancels the entire benefit. So here's what you need to know. First, stick to raw, unsalted walnuts. Avoid the roasted, sugar-coated, or overly salted varieties. Why? Because heat and additives can destroy the delicate nutrients like omega-3s and polyphenols that make walnuts effective in the first place. Second, aim for a small handful per day, around 1 to 1.5 ounces. That's about 14 walnut halves. It's enough to nourish your system without overwhelming it. You can eat them in the morning with breakfast. Mix them into oatmeal, or have them as an afternoon snack. Third, consistency beats intensity. You don't need to double or triple the amount. You just need to show up every day calmly, consistently, like the way we build trust with our own body again. Now, here's the kicker. If you want to triple the benefits, combine walnuts with a source of dark berries, like blueberries or blackberries. These berries contain powerful antioxidants, anthocyanins, which complement the anti-inflammatory effects of walnuts and support blood vessel repair, especially in delicate pelvic tissues. Think of it like this. Walnuts provide the structure. Berries add the spark. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that combining nuts and berries improved endothelial function significantly more than either one alone. That means better circulation, faster nerve recovery, and a greater sense of overall well-being. I often tell my patients to make it a ritual, a morning walk, followed by a small bowl of walnuts and fresh berries. It's a message to your body. I care. I'm rebuilding. I'm ready. And one final reminder, don't expect overnight miracles. Nature works with rhythm, not rush. But when you nourish your body with patience and purpose, it will begin to trust you again. And when that happens, everything changes. In the closing section, I'll leave you with one final thought, a gentle reminder that your health journey isn't about perfection. It's about reclaiming what time tried to take from you, one small victory at a time. If you're still with me, I want to thank you truly for walking through this journey together. I know how overwhelming it can feel. As a doctor, I've had thousands of conversations with men over 60 who sit across from me and say, "Doc, I just want to feel like myself again." And that simple, honest desire to reconnect with the version of you that felt strong, present, alive, is what fuels everything I do. This isn't about chasing youth. It's about reclaiming confidence. It's about waking up with energy, enjoying intimacy without fear, and feeling proud of how you take care of yourself. So let me remind you of something you might have forgotten. Your body isn't broken. It's brilliant. It's been adapting, protecting you, and doing its best with what it's been given. And now that you've learned what just one handful of walnuts a day can do for your heart, your hormones, your nerves, and your confidence, you've got a tool that's safe, natural, and powerful. Not a magic pill, not a gimmick, but a daily message to your body, I'm showing up for you. Maybe today, you start small, swap a bag of chips for walnuts. Maybe tomorrow, you go for a walk. Maybe this weekend, you have a real conversation with your partner. And one morning soon, you'll wake up feeling something stir, not just physically, but deep inside, and you'll know you're coming back to life. So here's your invitation. Start today. Stay steady. And remember, it's never too late to feel like a man again. You've got this.